What's up, guys? Thomas Malchow here from trainfully.com. If you've been experiencing pain on the back of your forearm here or up near your elbow up here, you might have lateral elbow tendinopathy, which is often called lateral epicondylitis. It's a really common injury, not just in golf, but throughout the entire population. And because it's so common, and I see so many golfers struggling with it, I want to show you my rehab protocol for treating it. Okay, so this is really simple. You can do it on your own, either at home or in a gym. Now, because I get asked about this injury so often, we're going to do a bit of a deep dive here. Okay, so I'm going to show you how the injury develops, which tissues are damaged and painful, and why we're doing the exercises that we're doing. But if you want to just skip ahead to the exercises, that's totally fine. All right, so the elbow joint is made up of three bones. We have the humerus, which is the upper arm bone, and then the radius and the ulna, which are the two bones in the forearm. At the bottom of the humerus, there are two bony bumps. The bony bump on the inside or medial side of the elbow is called the medial epicondyle, and the bony bump on the outside or lateral side of the elbow is called the lateral epicondyle. And then in the forearm, there are 20 muscles. We have 8 muscles in the anterior compartment of the forearm and 12 muscles in the posterior compartment of the forearm. Lateral elbow tendinopathy is typically damage to one of the 12 posterior compartment muscles called extensor carpi radialis brevis. Extensor carpi radialis brevis originates from the lateral epicondyle of the humerus from a tendon called the common extensor tendon. It runs down the back of the forearm, crosses the wrist, and inserts onto metacarpal bones 2 and 3. So because of its line of pull, when extensor carpi radialis brevis contracts and shortens, it can extend the wrist and abduct the wrist. It also stabilizes the wrist when the elbow is straight. And this becomes really important in golf when you make contact with the ball. If your lead elbow isn't straight at impact, if it's a little bit bent and your lead wrist is extended, then it's more difficult for extensor carpi radialis brevis to stabilize your wrist against the impact of the ball. And over time, if this is how you swing, then extensor carpi radialis brevis and its tendon, the common extensor tendon, can become overworked and overloaded. And this can result in micro tearing and progressive degeneration of the common extensor tendon where it attaches to the lateral epicondyle up at the elbow. So lateral elbow tendinopathy is damage to the common extensor tendon, and it's a result of a repetitive overuse injury to extensor carpi radialis brevis. And it's often due to technique errors and can be exacerbated by muscle imbalances and joint dysfunctions. So what I'd like to do now is take you through a simple routine that I use with golfers to repair and strengthen extensor carpi radialis brevis and the common extensor tendon and correct the imbalances and dysfunctions associated with lateral elbow tendinopathy. All right, now the first exercise we're going to do is an isometric wrist extension. So the term isometric means that there's no movement with this exercise. It's just a static contraction. The reason we're doing an isometric exercise first is because studies have found that isometric contractions can reduce tendon pain immediately for about 45 minutes. So with this exercise, we're loading extensor carpi radialis brevis because it's the primary wrist extensor, which means we're loading its tendon, the common extensor tendon, which is damaged. This induces analgesia and gives us a 45-minute window of time where we have less pain. I want you to do 5 sets of 45-second holds with 30 to 60 seconds rest between sets. And if you're really symptomatic, you can do this 2 to 3 times a day. The second exercise we're doing is an isotonic wrist extension. So the term isotonic means that there's movement with this exercise. There's an eccentric and a concentric contraction. And we're going to perform this exercise with heavy, slow resistance. Heavy, slow resistance means that we're using a heavy resistance, typically 70 to 85% of your 1 rep maximum, and I'll explain what that means here in a moment. And we're performing each repetition with a slow tempo. In fact, I want each repetition to take 6 seconds. 3 seconds for the eccentric contraction or the down phase, and 3 seconds for the concentric contraction or the up phase. So with this exercise, we're loading extensor carpi radialis brevis because it's the primary wrist extensor. And when we use a heavy load and a slow tempo, not only are we loading the muscle, but we're also pulling on its tendon, in this case, the common extensor tendon, which is damaged. And when we apply that type of tension or strain to tendons, it stimulates the tendon to increase collagen synthesis. So that means when we do this exercise, we're actually stimulating the tendon to make more collagen. And that's what tendons are made from, collagen, right? So when we do this exercise, we're helping the tendon heal and become stronger. Now, what does 70% of your 1 rep maximum mean? Well, it means that it should be challenging for you to do 12 repetitions. Now, typically I have men begin with 6 to 10 pounds and women with 3 to 5 pounds. I want you to do 2 to 3 sets of 12 repetitions. Remember, each repetition should take 6 seconds, and you can rest 1 to 2 minutes between each set. Now, for our third exercise, we're going to target a different muscle in the posterior compartment of the forearm called the supinator. Now, just like extensor carpi radialis brevis, the supinator originates from the lateral epicondyle of the humerus, but unlike extensor carpi radialis brevis, it doesn't run down the back of the forearm and cross the wrist. Instead, it curls around the radius, which is one of the 2 forearm bones, and inserts onto the proximal 1/3 of the radius. So because of its line of pull, when the supinator contracts and shortens, it causes the forearm to rotate like this, right? So it causes my palm to turn up. That movement is called supination of the forearm, and it's really important in golf. It's actually one of the power generators. So the supinator plays a really important role in the downswing while also helping to stabilize the elbow at impact. So if you have technique errors in your swing, you can end up with a repetitive overuse injury of the supinator, which can result in microtrauma of the soft tissue where the muscle attaches to the lateral epicondyle. So that can cause pain up here at the lateral epicondyle. So we want to load the supinator and strengthen it to build up its capacity. And this is a great exercise for doing that. Notice I'm using a broomstick. You can use whatever you have at home or whatever you find in the gym. The further down the handle we hold on to, the more load the supinator will be exposed to. I want you to do 2 to 3 sets of 12 repetitions, again with that slow tempo. 3 seconds up, 3 seconds down. So now we're going to turn our attention away from the forearm and focus on the shoulder blade, because the top outside corner of the shoulder blade forms the socket of the shoulder joint. So that means the movement of the shoulder blade affects the movement of the humerus, which then affects the movement of the elbow and the forearm. So that means if our shoulder blade is unstable, then our shoulder joint and elbow joint will also be unstable. And if we have instability in the elbow, then that can lead to extensor carpi radialis brevis overcompensating to try and increase stability. And over time, the muscle can become overloaded, which can result in microtrauma and degeneration of the common extensor tendon. So we want to increase the stability of our shoulder blade because that's going to improve the stability of our elbow. Now, there are a lot of muscles that attach to the shoulder blade. Which ones do we need to strengthen? Well, studies have found that there's a link between lateral elbow tendinopathy and weakness in the serratus anterior and middle and lower trapezius. This exercise is called shoulder W's, and it targets the middle and lower trapezius. The key with this exercise is to externally rotate your shoulder joints as you squeeze your shoulder blades together and push them down to your back pockets. I want you to do 2 to 3 sets of 12 repetitions, again with that slow tempo. So now we're going to move down the kinetic chain to the shoulder joint itself. Same logic here. If we have weakness and instability at the shoulder joint, then we're going to have instability at the elbow. And we know from the literature that lateral elbow tendinopathy is linked to rotator cuff weakness. So we're going to perform shoulder external rotations to strengthen the posterior rotator cuff. Squeezing a towel between your upper arm and rib cage while you do this exercise has been shown to increase posterior rotator cuff activity by up to 20%. So I want you to do 2 to 3 sets of 12 repetitions, again with that slow tempo. 3 seconds out, 3 seconds back. So now we're going to focus on the thoracic spine, because if you don't have good mobility in your thoracic spine, that can negatively affect the alignment and mechanics of your shoulder and therefore increase strain on your elbow. Now, this is a rotational mobilization for the thoracic spine that I really like. I want you to lock in your hips and core and follow your hands with your eyes as you rotate. So this is a really good mobilization for the thoracic spine, but it also activates the posterior rotator cuff, the rhomboids, and the middle trapezius. I want you to do 2 to 3 sets of 12 repetitions on each side. So now I want to talk about supplementation and the role that dietary collagen can play in the treatment of lateral elbow tendinopathy. Collagen is a structural protein. It's actually one of the most abundant proteins in the human body. And as I mentioned earlier, tendons are made from it. Tendons are made from collagen. Research has shown that supplementation with hydrolyzed collagen and vitamin C combined with heavy slow resistance training increases collagen synthesis and improves tendon health. In fact, several studies have shown improvements in joint health and joint strength and resilience in athletes who were treated with hydrolyzed collagen and vitamin C. And this could potentially help more than just your elbow. It could help all of your joints. And as we all know, joint pain and tendon pain can have a dramatic impact on athletic performance. So supplementation with dietary collagen might be a good option for you. Just make sure it's hydrolyzed collagen and vitamin C. So I recommend performing the routine that I showed you in this video 3 to 5 days per week and supplementing with hydrolyzed collagen and vitamin C every day. Now, on top of that, I recommend beginning an exercise program to make your body more robust and durable. Now, if you really want to take your health and performance to the next level, head over to trainfully.com and join my inner circle. When you become a member of my inner circle, I become your rehab specialist and performance coach, but at a fraction of what it costs to work with me one-on-one. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you for watching.